We're going to try to understand 4D objects in at least 3 different ways. And the first way is through stacking and slicing. What I mean is a 4D object can usually be understood as a stack of infinitely many 3D objects. Now this goes for any number of dimensions that you like, and what that means is 3D objects can be viewed as a stack of infinitely many 2D objects. 2D objects as a stack of 1Ds, and 1D objects as a stack of infinitely many 0D objects. We're going to start at the bottom here and try to understand 1D objects and then level up. Here's a 1D object. It's a line segment. And so when I say that we can view this line segment as a stack of infinitely many 0D objects, I mean for every single height along this line segment, there will be a point. You can view this as a giant stack of little points. For slicing, if you were to pick any height that you like and just snip this line segment with scissors, you were to intersect the line segment with a horizontal line, whichever one you like, then that intersection will be 1 dimension lower. It will be a single point. And so every slice is 0D. Let's level up. Here's a 2D object. It's a solid square. And so when I say that this square can be viewed as a stack of infinitely many 1D objects, what I mean, every slice is going to be a 1D line segment. You can pick any height that you like. Pretend that you're cutting the little square with scissors. If you were to intersect the square with this horizontal line, you're going to get a line segment. You can pick any height that you like. You will always get a line segment. And in fact, you could think of this square being entirely built out of a giant vertical stack of these little line segments. We can think of this in a backwards way. If I were to give you some clues, if I were to give you some of the slices for a certain 2D object, could you guess what the object is? So I'm only giving you the topmost slice, the bottommost slice, and I'm giving you 3 other clues. Now looking at the way that these slices are arranged, you're probably thinking diamond shape. And you would be right. The top slice would be a dot, the bottom slice would be dot, and the line segments would go from narrow to fat to narrow again. But really, that's not the only correct answer. There are a lot of different objects which start as a little point where the line segments get narrow and then fat and then narrow again, and then it ends in a point. So it could be a disc, it could be an ellipse, it could even be like a lens shape. There are, I think, infinitely many correct answers to this exercise. Here's a different example. If I were to slice a 2D object with lines at different heights, and I were to give you these 5 equal slices, what could the object possibly be? And in my opinion, the obvious answer is that it really could be a solid rectangle, right? You could just have that every single slice is the same width. But you don't actually know that for sure, right? I think that's a perfectly valid answer. But honestly, in between these 5 different equal level slices, there could be all kinds of crazy stuff happening. It could be some kind of floopy shape that you've never seen before. So there will always be more than one correct answer. Let's level up again. You can think of 3D objects as stacks of infinitely many 2D objects. And I'm going to use the 3D solid cube as an example. A 2D cube is the generic word, is really just a square. All right, it's time to level up and talk about the 4D cube, which has a couple of nicknames. You could call it a hypercube, or you could call it a tesseract. All those names are perfectly acceptable. But in any case, we are going to view it as a stack of infinitely many 3D cubes. Now here is a common visualization of the 4D cube. Not all the pieces of it are shown here. I just want to point that out, but it's what we use to try to understand the shape. Now we're supposed to be able to view this thing as a stack of infinitely many 3D cubes. And so here is that bottom 3D cube. And this is going to be weird because as I stack the cubes in our little pathetic 3D world, all of the 3D cubes are going to overlap. Technically in 4D world, they're not supposed to overlap, but here they do, and that's okay. So if we stack up infinitely many of these 3D cubes, we are going to create a 4D cube.